We are next taking the case of people versus Dennis Richard Ryder. This is file 23-13581 FH. You may be seated. Appearances from counsel, please.
Joanna Carey, Chief Assistant Prosecuting Attorney for People.
Robert Hartzell from Mr. Ryder, who joins you at the table.
Thank you. You may be seated. And also joining us today is Ms. Lindsay Simmons, an agent from the Michigan Department of Corrections, who prepared the pre-sentence investigation report. We are here today for a sentencing in this case involving a conviction on a plea to an assault resist destructive police officer. Ms. Carey, have you received a copy of the PSIR? And if so, do you have any amendments, corrections, or objections to make?
I have received and reviewed, saying I do not have any corrections. Thank you.
Mr. Hartel?
I am in receipt. I've read it over with my client, and we don't have any amendments or corrections on it.
Thank you. Allocution, sir.
Yes, Your Honor. I do see in the guidelines it can go as low as 5 months, and I respect that my client has less than that time served. So I did meet with his family. They know he can't go home today, but they are here for moral support for him. I have discussed this case at length with my client. We've gone through all the evidence. I've talked to him about his perspective, his life story. He's made it very clear to me that he knows he was drunk. He knows, although he wasn't charged with drunk and disorderly, he was drunk and disorderly. He knows that. He knows in retrospect that he should have cooperated with the police officer. And although ignorance of the law is not an excuse, it is worth noting that he was staying at that residence. He misunderstood what his rights were as far as being able to go back into the residence when the officer was conducting their investigation. If he had known the law more properly, he wouldn't have done that. That's not an excuse, but it is a bit of his mindset. As far as why the police were called and why they were there, it's worth noting that it's not to minimize the situation, but it's not like they're being called due to allegations of domestic or things of that nature this court sees quite often with other clients. They came out there initially as far as at least emergency services because they thought my client might need medical care. And he fortunately didn't need the medical care, but because he was drunk and because he wasn't in the right state of mind, he did make some errors. He has informed me that perhaps a little bit later in life than would be preferred, he knows that he needs to not make this type of mistake again. He went several years without any major hiccups. Before that, we admit he had a series of unfortunate events in his youth and his adulthood, and he made it several years in that gap. And he knows the difference is getting to that level of intoxication. So after talking to him and his support structure, he has informed me that he will, for what it's worth, take the Vivitrol shot, get into more regular counseling. And as stated before, he does have that moral support. So if the court could sentence him to the minimum in the guidelines of the 5 months with time served, we would highly appreciate it. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Mr. Hartel. You may be seated. Or I'll get back to you just a moment, Mr. Ryder. All right, Ms. Carey, allocution on behalf of the people.
Your Honor, thank you. I'm going to ask the court to follow the recommendation. This was not a mistake on Mr. Ryder's part. He's had prior RNOs. He knows how to behave. He does have a drinking problem, that's clear. But if you look at his record on probation and on parole, it's terrible. He doesn't do well. He's not done well at all. And his parents are here. They're always here. He's had this support his whole life. They've always been supportive of him. And yet he continues to drink and he continues to make choices that result in, that are criminal. It's not a mistake, it's criminal behavior. And I think the recommendation is sound and fair and would ask the court to follow it.
Thank you. Mr. Ryder, you have the right to make a statement. Is there anything you wish to say today, sir?
Well, I believe my lawyer spoke well on my behalf. I am saying, embarrassed and remorseful, for my intoxicating behaviors that evening. Like I told my lawyer and others, I deserve to be punished, for my actions the evening of May 13th. I can't deny that. Yes, alcohol has been an issue my entire life. Again, I've had a 6-year run. Been successful. However, with this sentence, I would like for you to include 2 things. He spoke on the Vivitrol. I would like to do that once a month. And at this point in my life, what's really important to me right now is something for me. And I need that one-on-one professional help so I can deal with some issues that I have never dealt with before in my life. I have always numbed them issues for decades. Yes, I've got support. And I'm continuously hurting and disrespecting the people I love. And again, I'm at the point where I don't want to stand here again in front of you. With that, I ask you to kindly consider me or consider sentencing me, to the minimum or whatever you see fit. And with that, I thank the courts for listening.
Thank you. When you mentioned the Vivitrol shot, it's not like I can order somebody to give you a shot. I can't do that.
May I interrupt?
Sure,
I'm a big boy.
I
I
understand.
can follow through with that. It's something I will do.
There's something here, so that caused me to look at your substance abuse treatment in the past. It only says you've gone to Catholic Human Services sporadically over the years.
I have.
Have there? You haven't had any other kind of treatment?
No,
Okay. All right. Thank you.
thank you.
Ms. Simmons, I know that there's no recommendation for probation. Did you? And I don't see any listing for efforts of treatment. I know that he had a prison sentence, and I therefore would assume there would have been some treatment in a prison setting. Do you have anything else you can add to help me understand what my options are? I mean, I'm concerned about. I won't say it as I often do. People can get their own rehab on their own. But do you have any other input?
And not on the rehab part of it, Your Honor. I did remember as I was sitting here that he was part of the CMH ACT team when we supervised him on parole. So he did have mental health services through them.
Okay.
I don't have documentation. I didn't look at documentation. Let me rephrase that for the DOC programming. I'm assuming he probably would have went through some sort of minimal
Yeah.
alcohol, drug
Mr.
abuse,
Wright?
but
Thank you. Mr. Wright, did you have any treatment when you were in a confinement facility?
The one thing I did attend was the AA meetings.
Sure. Okay.
That was pretty much all they had at the time.
Yeah. All right. All right. Thank you. I have to go back and ask the defense a question because I don't remember how you worded it, Mr. Hartel or Mr. Ryder. The defendant has the right to request a jail-only sentence and no probation. Do you have a position on that, Mr. Hartel, on behalf of your client?
Your Honor, although my client hasn't done great on probation in the past, if the court was willing to give him the minimum end of the guidelines, I do believe he would do well on probation this time. So we're not asking you to give him only jail.
I just wanted to make sure that I asked that question so I understood what his position was. I don't know if I'm going to give him probation. I'll decide here in about the next 20 seconds. Okay, thank you very much. Assesses a $68 state minimum fee, $130 crime victim right fund fee, a $300 court cost, a $500 fine, a $300 attorney fee. Court sentences the defendant to a jail sentence of 210 days with 107 days of credit. Significantly less than that which was recommended, and with good comment time. And about 90 days left, maybe less, it should be less than that, sorry, should be less than that, about 70 days. All right.
I want to thank you for your time, Honor.
Thank you, sir. All right, before you go, Mr. Hartel is going to bring you 2 copies of one document. The first one, you're going to place your initials on the on the first one, you place your initials, acknowledge receipt of the second. The second you will take. This document tells you have the right to appeal the conviction and sentence in your case. And it's typically done by filing a claim of right to appeal. However, based upon the plea in this case, any appeal must be done by filing an application for leave to appeal. If you choose to file an application for leave to appeal and you want the court to appoint an attorney to assist you, you complete the bottom half of the document and return to the court within 42 days. If you choose not to appeal, you simply dispose of the document. Do you understand, Mr. Ryder?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Ryder, while you're inside the Wexford County Jail, there are treatment programs through Catholic Human Services. I strongly encourage If you haven't been doing them now, I strongly encourage you to take them.
I have been.
All right, good. And I think you know it's clear. You're one of the people who probably can't consume alcohol.
I cannot.
I know, and you need to put yourself on the right path to sobriety. So make sure you start communicating with Catholic Human Services and Community Mental Health. I know there are programs that you're probably already familiar with, such as the ACT team and things like that, and getting yourself sponsors and so forth. All right, thank you. Anything further, Ms. Simmons?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Ms. Carey?
No, sir.
Mr. Hartel?
No, thank you.
Thank you. We're adjourned.